Well, welcome back. We're going to start on module number 2, part 1. What I've decided to do is break the modules down. I know module 1 was a large module that was over 2 hours long. Then what I've decided to do is break module 2 down into several smaller sections. Really the point being it's much easier obviously to download, and also if you want to go back and review a section instead of having to download 2 hours worth of training materials, it might be a little easier to identify sections that are of interest if I keep this down to 15, 20, 30-minute segments. So before we get started, what I really want to do is I want to make sure that we kind of rewind a smidgen into module number 1 and really understanding the purpose of why we're here. And it's how to use money lending secrets to create sustainable, ideally substantial, passive income. And again, I know many of you are A-type personalities like me where you're always on the go, you want to hustle. So it's very easy to make this an active business, and it's very scalable. We can blow this thing up into any dollar amount, any income stream that you're looking for. But one of the challenges I find is the reason why so many people don't have success with other home study courses or boot camps or real estate trainings or any kind of investment training for that matter is it's not the guru. And I hate the word guru, but it's not the educator. It really what it is, and it's not you. And a lot of people place a lot of blame on themselves, saying, well, it doesn't work, and I don't understand it, I'm not smart enough. Really what happens is, if you think about it logically, intellectually, you have a full-time job. So if you have a full-time job working 40 hours a week, it's kind of difficult to take on another full-time practice. And contrary to what a lot of people tell you, real estate is not a part-time endeavor. Not that certain elements of it can't be part-time, but the reality is, if you want to, let's say, take an element like house flipping or foreclosures or REOs or short sales or commercial investing, that's a 40, 50, 60-hour week business. It is not a part-time endeavor. So what we have to do is we have to look at how do we take what's flawed in real estate training out there, and it is the fact that you don't have 40 hours. You have husbands and wives and children and jobs and school and church and activities and hobbies. So how do we practically, in the real world, get ahead? How do you financially earn just an extra $500 a month? And then obviously if you have a mechanism that lets you earn an extra $500 a month, well, how do we systematize that so that's replicable, so that 500 becomes 1,000 and 1,000 becomes 2 and 2 becomes 5 and it goes on from there. At the same time, again, it's worth repeating, this is not just about passive income. I just believe all of you should start with a passive income strategy. And if it's something you like, if it's something you want to be more than passive about, well, then ideally what you need is to have that scalability element within it so that if you want to do it 40 hours a week, well, obviously you're going to supercharge your success. So again, our focus is how to use money lending secrets to create this substantial, sustainable, passive income. So as I mentioned before, why are we all here? I mentioned this in module 1, but it's worth, again, reviewing. You always start with the end in mind. What are you trying to accomplish? You remember I gave you some homework assignments in module number 1, and I hope you've honored your quest to get ahead, and that you've taken this seriously, and you've gone out and implemented those homework assignments. If you haven't, please do it. You can't. Curious people don't get ahead in life. Serious people get ahead in life. And there's a reason for those assignments. Those assignments are the stepping stones to ensure that we build a business, because this is right now not about investing. It's about building a business. And in order to build that business, there are certain logical sequential steps that I need you to do. So really, if we start with the end in mind, we're here to learn how to generate that sustainable passive income to either supplement your current income or to replace your current active income, the income you have from your job. If you have a job that you love, congratulations, you're ahead of 90% of the world out there. But maybe you're at a job that you don't enjoy. It's the Monday through Friday grind. Or maybe you have a job that you enjoy, but there's no real upside potential to it. So again, what we've got is we've got a business plan of attack where you can build the sustainable income And then again, if you want to make it active, you can. The whole goal is to retire sooner versus later, richer versus poorer. So again, getting back to module number one, some of the assignments I gave you was to be open-minded to shifting your real estate perceptions. Because again, I know many of you have the real estate hat on, and we're going to combine the real estate with the lending aspects here. So you're going to be wearing some different hats. But the beauty of this is you can have the power to sit at either side of the table. In today's economy, I really find that the lending side of the equation tends to be a little more powerful than the real estate side. Now, again, I don't want you to just jump ship, quit your real estate endeavors, and just go out there with 100 miles an hour with your hair on fire to go out and sit on the lending side of the table. I think you need to have all the tools in your arsenal in today's economy. And one of the things I asked you to do was to take the time to write down your immediate passive financial needs. What are they? And having conversations with many of you just need an extra $1,000 a month. Very easy to do. Some of you need a lot more than $1,000 a month. Some of you have all the money, and it's really not a need, it's a want, it's a desire. But it's really important to write these things down, because what happens is otherwise, if you don't write them down, it's not really real. There's nothing to, there's no checks and balances in this. So if you haven't done this, please just stop, pause, whatever it takes, to write down some immediate goals. Just your knee-jerk reactions. Don't think too deep into them. Also, I wanted you to call 4 or 5 hard money lenders. Some of you have already called 10, which is incredible. I've heard some of the amazing results you've already had, and I congratulate you, and I thank you for doing what I've asked you to do. Again, I asked you to call 4 or 5 hard money lenders within your area, because what I wanted you to do is to find out their terms. I gave you a list of questions in module number 1 that you need to ask, some information you need to extract from those hard money lenders. I also asked you to locate a RIA, real estate investment group, in your area, and to attend those, schedule those and attend those different meetings, because that is going to be your source, your source of business, your source of clientele. One of the things we talked about is arbitrage, and we're going to get into the details of arbitraging, the first strategy, arbitraging mortgages. So what we need to do is we need to find out our cost of money, who has the money that we're going to arbitrage. We also need an outlet for the money. It doesn't make a lot of sense for you to arbitrage money and not have anyone that wants it arbitraged. So again, the RIA is the quickest, easiest way to do it. Again, what I'm trying to do is create a passive machine for you, where I'm trying to find the most effective, the most efficient ways for you to go and accomplish this. So the other thing was to commit an allotted amount of time dedicated to implementing your passive income strategies. I don't want this to be kind of haphazard. Well, time permits, you'll find the time to do this. If you could dedicate maybe just a few days a week, be it a half hour, an hour, whatever it is, where you can lock the door, lock yourself away from the interruptions, from kids, from spouses, from your favorite TV show, the ball game, whatever the case may be, and really focus on this. And then again, take the time to review some of the information I sent you as well. That's why these modules, these modules are for you. So don't be bashful about going back and reviewing them. And don't be bashful about sending me emails. Many of you sent some wonderful emails. It's exciting for me to be able to help you guys and on your transactions. And some of the stuff hasn't even been related to this. And it's just fun to help. So if you have questions, definitely send us out an email. So one of the things we left off with last week was obviously the wealth triad. I've kind of changed the slide a little bit here, but I think it's really important to note that you have to understand there's, if you look at the pyramid, it's sliced in two vertically. You have the work side of your life, and you have the security side. On the left side, you have building active income. On the right side, you have the building passive income. And again, I don't know what percentage, but we'll say 99% of Americans out there are pretty proficient at building active income. Some don't make much money, some make a lot of money, but for the most part, everyone's got a job. I guess statistically, if we look at unemployment figures, I guess I should say it's 90% of people have a job and they're building the active side. Unfortunately, if you look at the statistics of how many people retire at age 65 with any sense of wealth, I shouldn't even say wealth, even having an ability to retire, the far majority of Americans at age 65 have an inability to retire. So what we really need to do is, I'm just trying to get you to understand the importance of building that passive income. So if we look at this, what we want to do is on the active side, well, let's just call that a job. Let's just call that your business, whatever the case may be. But on the passive side, it could be a lot of different things. It could be real estate investments, it could be stocks, it could be commodities, it could be collectibles, it could be numismatics. There's a whole, I mean, there's an enormous category of things that offer passive income. So what we're going to focus on is on the real estate and the lending side of the equation. So in order to really build quick passive income, we're going to spend more time on this lending side, this arbitrage side, because I'm sure many of you already know of so many different things, or probably have bought books and tapes and courses on real estate. You know, if you want to know something about real estate, just go down to Barnes and Nobles or one of your local bookstores, and there's no shortage of books on there. And part of the training we're going to go through is I will cover real estate. I will cover elements of flipping and why it's important for you to know that, because in today's economy, flipping homes is an incredible source of money. Not so much on the passive side. Landlording would be more of a passive play. But I'll dovetail active and passive side together. So for the most part, the reason why we're focused on this passive is security. You need to know with absolute certainty that when you're ready to retire, retirement's going to greet you. You're going to have the ability to retire. Again, for many of you, retirement has a very different definition. I've early retired twice. The last time I only lasted 66 days. To me, the definition of retirement is to do what I'm passionate about. And for me, be it a blessing or a curse, it happens to be I'm kind of a deal junkie. I like doing real estate deals. I like doing lending deals. I love educating and sharing what I know with people. I speak at the different universities. I've been interviewed on TV and radio, and I just love real estate. So get me started talking about real estate, and it's kind of a lost cause. I'll go on for an hour. So whatever that passive side of the equation means to you is really important. So we need to build it financially. And ultimately, it's to regain our time. We want to be able to have time and income. If you look at the top of the pyramid, really what happens is on the work side, on the active side of life, that's fine. You're making money, and some of you are making phenomenal money, but you're exchanging hours for dollars. And at the end of the day, at the top of the pyramid, just as more income. It doesn't traditionally bring you more time. The passive side of the equation will allow you to accomplish both. It'll allow you to turn around and build a greater income. It'll allow you to build greater wealth, and it'll also allow you to recapture your life, to recapture the time, to be able to spend the time with who you want to spend time with and where you want to spend that time. So I just want to get back to the basics. I always like to start off with the basics to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all thinking the same way. I know many of you are cramming this in after hour, between getting the kids ready and between your favorite show. So, just bear with me. I just like to get your mind in the right place. So it's kind of like a little transitional bit of time before we dive into the nitty and gritty. So with that being said, let's dive into the nitty and gritty. So, it's all about arbitraging someone else's capital. And in Module 1, we talked about that. So let's just kind of review a couple things and let's get into how it actually works. How do we arbitrage other people's money? So one of the things we talked about is offering mezzanine lending, which is in the industry is called mezz lending. In the 2003, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very, very, very popular mezz lending. Really in the commercial spaces where you saw it, you didn't really see it in the residential section. It was just called second mortgages. But mezz lending is very complicated, structured very differently. But what it allowed a lot of developers to do is if you're sitting there looking at a $50 million project or a $150 million project, the reality of putting 30 or 40% down, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So what developers would do is they would find their institutional type funding. They'd find that first mortgage from a bank, from other institutional sources. And then what they would do is they would piggyback that with a second mortgage, a mezz piece. And that mezz piece could have been through several different types of sources. It could have been a private offering, a public offering. people that specialize, for lack of a better term, hard money lenders that specialize in mezz lending. The whole point was to get additional leverage, so they had maximum leverage. So you could do a $150 million project with maybe only 5% of your own capital in the game. So what's unique about it is, as a result of the economy going to hell in a handbasket and everything being corrected, and seeing real estate prices along with everything else on the decline, those people that had second mortgages at the top of the market pretty much got wiped out. So you don't see a lot of mezz pieces anymore because they're all broke at this point. Again, real estate is a cyclical process. Well, every business is a cyclical process. I think everything in this world is, it's some way, shape, or form a cyclical process. So mezz pieces at the top of the market are driven by greed and not common sense. And as it would be, now that the market has gone down in value, now that America's on sale, everything is wholesale, everything's 50% off, I don't understand why people don't re-engage. What happens is they've fallen off the horse, they had the wind knocked out of them, and they're afraid to get back on and ride. Well, now is the time. Now is the logical time, the astute time to get in and be a mezz lender and offer this, because no one else is. Everyone's scared on the sideline or broke or gone or out of the business. So what we want to do is offer something others aren't offering. This is a unique niche. I have always made my money, always, with unique niches. I carve out a niche. I find something different. I find something that's not too far ahead of the curve where I'm a pioneer. I don't necessarily want to be a pioneer, but I don't want to be in with the masses either. I want to find something that's different, that pays very well. I don't want to have a huge production. I want smaller deals, how do I explain? I want fewer, more profitable type transactions. So this is definitely a unique, high demand niche with amazing returns, and absolutely phenomenal returns. And again, so if you look at the little picture of the house on the left, this is just kind of visual representation of what we're talking about. Traditionally, hard money lenders in today's economy will loan about 65% loan to value, LTV, loan to the value of the property. So if the property is worth $100,000, 65% loan would be a $65,000 loan to the value being $100,000. So traditionally, lenders would do 65% loan to value in a first mortgage position only. What we're looking at doing is doing that second piece on top of it, stacking a loan above it, which is our mezz piece, which would be, and it can be 5% higher, taking it to 70% combined loan to value. It can be a 10% loan to value loan, so 65 plus 10% loan to value would make it a 75% loan to value. In this example, and the examples I'm going to use, I'm really just working with 20% loan to value. I want to go with an 85% combined loan to value, CLTV, combined loan to value. We have, again, let me just use an example, $100,000 value of a house, 65% loan to value would be $65,000. If we go and offer another 20% loan to value on top of that 65, our loan would be 20% loan to value. Stacked on top makes it a combined loan to value of 85%. And I apologize if I'm being a bit of a simpleton, but again, I know some of you know this, and again, some of you don't. So just bear with me if it's a little elementary for some of you. Review can't hurt. So that's what we're looking at. So we're piggybacking on other people's money. And I'm going to show you some real hard and fast numbers on this in module number 2, and I'm going to show you a way to write this down. I'm going to show you a way to take a very small amount of money, use arbitrage, and build a 30, 40, 50% cash on cash annualized rate of return. I think I have one of the examples, one of the deals we did, which was 72%. And I know for many of you, you're like, how's that even possible? I mean, I always say, if it sounds too good to be true, it's not true. In this case, I'm going to show you a strategy where it is very, very, very true. One of the most difficult things you're going to experience is you don't want to tell your investors that you're going to make them 50% return on their money. They will not believe you. They think you're a charlatan. They think it's risky. They just think it's nonsense. So what we want to do is we want to underpromise and exceedingly overdeliver. So what we want to do is make our investors happy with a 10, 12% annualized rate of return. deliver much more. Their checkbooks open up, their friends' checkbooks open up, and you will have a client for life. So again, let me get back on track here. So what we're doing is we're talking about the mezz piece, which is piggybacking behind other people's mortgages. And what we're going to do is we're going to be implementing an arbitrage strategy basically to skyrocket these returns. And again, I will cover that in this not in this section, but I will cover it in module number 2. So let's look at why people would loan why on earth we would loan 80, 85, 90% loan to value. Again, I'm sure if you did your homework assignment, you spoke to hard money lenders out there, you found that 65% loan to value is where it's at. Some are less. There might be a couple that do 70%. You might find quite a few that only do 50, 55%. But folks, what you have to understand, it's all about protective equity. Protective equity. If you look at the image to the left, we know we have 65% loan to value first mortgage. We know we have a second mortgage of 20% loan to value with a combined loan to value of 85%. So there is 15% protective equity in our transaction. And right now, I'll tell you 15% is not enough. And we're going to show you why it's important to understand protective equity. And more importantly, I shouldn't say more importantly, but equally important is how you go about determining protective equity. So it's not always the case where the higher the loan to value doesn't necessarily equal greater risk. Now, this is on the left, the image on the left is how a traditional lender, private lender, will look at things. They will look at this and go, you are absolutely crazy. You're at 65% loan to value. They're happy. They're at 65. So their protective equity is 35%, which is perfect, which is ideal, because if you ever have to foreclose, I mean, think about this. What is the worst case scenario when you loan someone money to invest in real estate? The worst case scenario is you have to foreclose on them. So how do we make the worst case scenario a wonderful scenario? Well, we make sure we have lots of protective equity. So when we have to go through the foreclosure process, we have to repossess that asset, that commercial building, that house, that condo. We want it. We want to buy it because we would, in essence, be foreclosing and taking back a property that has a ton of profit in it, a ton of equity in it. So we want that protective equity. When you look at putting the mezz piece on there, most people don't get it. What they see is this image on the left. They only see 15% protective equity. So here is the trick. In a normal situation, you would never loan more than 65% loan to value. However, in a value add type scenario, a value add play means when someone adds value to a piece of real estate. So who would add value to a piece of real estate? Who can you think of that adds value on a daily basis to the real estate? A builder, a developer. They add value. They take a piece of dirt that's worth $100,000, and at the end of the day, it's worth $400,000. A flipper buys a house for $300,000, and when he's done, it sells for $450,000. Those are the clients we want to work with. If you remember in your assignment in module number 1, I had you go to an investment club and look for who. Who do you work with? You work with flippers. And I'll just tell you right now, there's two people you're going to work with. You're going to work with developers and flippers and no one else. If someone does not add value, you're not interested. So again, what we're talking about is we're talking about taking calculated and controlled risk. And this is really important to understand. You need to be able to identify your risks. You need to be able to calculate the direction of your transaction, the magnitude of your risk, and you need to some way be able to control that. So what happens is I'm going to show you a way where we're going to arbitrage someone else's money. If you have money, you're going to invest some of your money. If you don't have money, you'll invest someone else's money. And how to calculate the outcome, calculate the risk, be able to stay in control of the entire process. Control is critical here. And we're only going to work with value add type scenarios.